You might have noticed it as you drove by. Tonight, Dan Monahan shares the story behind an unusual house and its unusual construction crew.
It is an eye-catching construction project with a huge front wall made of gray sections nestled together like spoons. The architect behind those walls says he loves a challenge. In this case, the challenge was building a very quiet, private space along a very noisy public street.
So I thought that these walls, while they're also interesting shapes, could act as a barrier to the sound.
Barry Langford's newest construction creation floats somewhere between his trade of architecture and his tendency to art. When it's landscape, Langford hopes this home of steep walls and canyon-like walkways will blend with New Mexico's volcanic geography.
It's as though they've pushed through the ground. And so that's what I'm looking for, that sense of life that's generated by these forms.
Any architect can put strange and challenging ideas on paper, but Langford goes a step further. He works with a contractor who knows exactly what those drawings mean, because Langford builds what he blueprints. And as contractor, he hires a labor crew that is on the cutting edge. Master's degrees abound on the ground where Langford builds, since he hires his students and colleagues.
They're architects, and they want to be a little bit more into the real-life problems that occur on a building site.
Well, it's amazing what you can learn in a short amount of time out here, and to see all the stuff that you're sort of always drawing in an office, but you're not seeing it put together. This changes that perspective.
And the brainy manual laborers say they're having a lot of fun getting out of the office, learning they don't have to draw the line at just drawing lines. Dan Monahan, Action 7 News.
On the outside, it's bent and twisted in ways unlike your common house. And as Dan Monahan shows us, the inside reflects those outer bends.
When curiosity forced us to stop back in January, we found an unusual construction site. But it was a little hard at that point to really envision what architect Barry Langford's finished product might look like. Well, it's done now. Last week, crews from Copenhagen Furniture were hauling in a house full of house fillings, decking the halls with boughs of folly, since none of this furniture is here to stay. The fancy furnishings and fine art are all props. Commercial photographer Kirk Giddings is shooting the non-traditional home for layouts in what the experts call the trades. The magazine Progressive Architecture has already requested photos for an article on the home, and Langford hopes to interest several other of these national publications. What's different about this design? Well, first of all, it's tough to find a 90-degree corner. Everything seems a bit bent. And don't look for traditional windows. Glass blocks and skylights provide most of the outside exposure. The architect says the result is exactly what he expected.
If you look at this house and plan, it looks very odd. But you could drive by this house and never know it was here. Particularly as years go on, that'll happen in the landscaping builds.
Despite that plan, after seeing the house, it is hard to believe it will ever be invisible. Dan Monahan, Action 7 News.
Hard not to notice it now, huh?
That's right. Interesting house, though.
Welcome back to Dream Builders. I'm Scott Morgan. Acres of woods help maintain the peace and quiet of this home in Pittsboro, North Carolina. But what if your dream home sits on a busy city street? Well, a New Mexico architect took the challenge of creating a quiet spot in the heart of Albuquerque. Over 22,000 noisy cars pass daily through this busy intersection in Albuquerque, New Mexico. But architect Barry Langford and his wife Mary Lou, who live just feet from the road, would never know it.
It's a lot more quiet than you would expect, actually, because we're sitting here right now talking and there's a lot of traffic outside and you really can't hear it.
You really can't hear it because Barry spent endless hours designing and building the home with silence and privacy in mind.
The shape of this house, if you look at my preliminary drawings, is almost womb-like. It's curving. It's in a bigger picture. It's not just one big curved wall. It's little curved walls caressing the interior of the house and the courtyard. So what it does is, I think, gives a sense of safety in an otherwise busy area.
The curve of the walls deflects the city sounds and bounces them back onto the street. But that's not all that's keeping things quiet. Barry actually built most of the structure underground.
In this house, we're 6 feet underground at the kitchen, and we're about 2 feet underground at the end of the hallway. The burbs serve the purpose of alleviate or deadening sound, and they also make great planters.
The berms, the curved walls, even the thick foliage block out sound. And the interior details of the house are just as well thought out as the exterior. Both Mary Lou and Barry enjoy working from home, but instead of converting a guest room into an office, Barry opted to utilize the 6-foot wide hallway instead. Not only does it provide plenty of elbow room, but the airspace stops the sound from the road. But practical matters aside, fellow architect Michael Wawerka feels that the long, snaking hallway, and the entire house for that matter, is just plain nice.
This curving spaces just add dynamism. They add to your sense of it just enhances your spirit to be around spaces that aren't completely regular and ordinary.
There is a flow to the house, but there's also a certain rugged quality to it as well. Barry cut thousands of split-face blocks for the interior and exterior walls of the house.
This doesn't look like it, but this is a concrete block, actually. And it's a certain type of concrete block where they split it while it's curing, and it causes this rough texture that you see. And that acts as a baffle for sound also.
The concrete theme is extended into the back courtyard as well, where Mary Lou and Barry enjoy the New Mexico weather, and their pet raven, Paquita, enjoys some playtime with the family dog. The rugged look of the interior concrete is complemented by the abundance of natural light that streams in through the skylights.
We rarely during the day, in fact, we probably never during the day have overhead lights on. We just don't need it. You don't have to worry about switches and electricity and keeping our bills low and that kind of thing.
And where there aren't skylights, there are small, square-shaped cutouts in the walls that allow the tiniest bit of sunshine to peek through.
Additionally, there are regular windows to the north that are also kind of shaded, and there's eastern windows as well. So there's natural light representation from all corners of the globe.
For Mary Lou and Barry, bringing the outside in was one of their main goals in designing the house. But of course, some things they wanted to leave outside. And in the end, they did just that.
When I'm at work, there are always people around. I'm either seeing patients or I have 5 different people asking me questions and I'm pulled in a million directions. So when I come here, it's quiet, it's just peaceful, and I can actually think and get things done.
Yeah, mission accomplished. You don't really know, people won't believe it, but you can't believe it till you're actually in here and see it and hear it, or lack of hearing.